In this video, we're going to compare two of the most classic compressor limiters ever created, the 1176 and the LA2A. Now, these are my desert island units. If I was forced to just choose two limiters to only use for recording and mixing ever again, these are the two that I would choose. And I'm pretty sure that I'd be absolutely fine. They're mega versatile. They work on a range of sources, but where they both really shine is on vocals, and for two very different reasons. They sound completely different and you get totally different results from each compressor. And in this video, I'm going to show you some examples where each of these compressors really works for the singer and the song, so that you can start to use them and choose the most appropriate application for your songs and mixes as well. So does that mean that you need to now go out and spend thousands of dollars on a couple of hardware units? Absolutely not. I happen to have a few 1176s and a 2A in the rack at the side of me. However, nowadays there are a plethora of plugins available for both of these units, and the vast majority of them sound absolutely great, and they're really cheap. Black Rooster Audio do some really great plugins. Slate Digital have got a few 1176s and an LA2A that sounds great. I use them all the time. And Universal Audio, in their new native subscription, they have the 1176 and the LA2A. So just go and grab yourself one of those. Will those plugins sound absolutely identical to the hardware units that I've got here? No, they won't. However, will my LA2A sound identical to another LA2A in another studio? No, it won't. That's the beauty of analog gear. There are subtle variations between them. However, they're always going to be in a ballpark. So let's jump in and look at some examples. This first one is quite a hard-hitting pop punk pop rock song. This is a classic contender for an 1176. So on the lead vocal, I've got the Blue Stripe 1176. This is the earliest revision. There are loads of plugins of this out there. It's quite noisy, but it's super aggressive, and it's got a nice push in the mid-range, which sounds incredible on vocals. So let's take a listen to the lead vocal on this song, and let's talk about what the 1176 is doing. So that 1176 is keeping the vocal right there. It is right in front of your face. It's got a slight push in the mids. It's adding some distortion and saturation, and we're not shy on the amount of gain reduction. This is a hard, heavy pop rock song. We need to pin the vocal down. We need to make it sound aggressive, and we want it right in front of the listener's face. And that is exactly what the 1176 is doing. Let's solo the vocal on its own. Take another listen.
'Cause you found a way to be my escape. Give me one night to change your mind. You say you don't know. I say don't ask why.
Let's now listen to that vocal without the compressor engaged. Let's really listen to what it's doing to that vocal. So this is without.
'Cause you found a way to be my escape. Give me one night to change your mind. You say you don't know. I say don't ask why. I can't let you leave this behind.
Let's put the compressor in.
'Cause I've been locked inside while you hold the key, and I've been trying to get out. And this might be the death of me, but I'm breaking out.
Now, there is another version of the 1176, which is the Rev D. This is the blackface model. This was a later model. It had lower noise, and it had slightly different saturation, distortion characteristics. I'm going to put that one onto this lead vocal now, just so that you can hear the differences. It's very subtle. You need to be listening on studio monitors or headphones to really hear the differences.
You've heard it all before. 'Cause you found a way to be my escape. Give me one night to change your mind. You say you don't know. I say don't ask why. I can't let you leave this behind.
Now we'll solo the vocal with that 1176 Rev D on it.
'Cause you found a way to be my escape. Give me one night to change your mind. You say you don't know, I say don't ask why. I can't let you leave this behind.
It sounds great. It's very, very similar in the sound and particularly the compressor action to the Rev A. It's still pinning the vocal. We're still getting that kind of upfront, in-your-face vocal sound. However, it's not quite as aggressive. The attack isn't quite as fast, and it's a little bit softer in the mid-range. It sounds great. Could you use it? Absolutely. But those are the differences between those two versions of the 76. Let's now have a look at the LA2A and where that really shines. So for me, where a LA2A really shines is when you want a vocal to sound big and grand. And that's exactly what we need on this next track. This is called Meteorites. It's by a band called Sugar Lakes. And we've got a female vocalist who just sounds amazing. She's got a big, powerful, strong voice. And we want to emphasize that. We want to make it sound even bigger and even grander. We don't want to smash it down with an aggressive 1176. We could use an 1176, tweak the attack, tweak the release, not do so much gain reduction and get a great sound. However, the LA2A just sounds insanely good right off the bat, and it just does this job really, really well. So the vocals patched into the LA2A. It is the most simple compressor you could ever get. There are two controls, peak reduction and gain. How much compression do you want? That's your control. Need to make up the gain? That's your control. You can also limit and compress. I'm just in compress at the moment. The limit one just clamps down a little bit too hard for my taste. But that's all there is to it. I'm not compressing an awful lot on this. We're probably doing somewhere around 5 to 7 dB. And because it's quite slow in its attack and release, it really, really just lets the vocal kind of breathe. And because of that tube stage in it, it adds some really nice warmth and saturation, particularly to the low mids. So let's take a listen to what's going off in this song.
And I don't know why, no. If I call, would you pick up the phone if I fall? And would you catch me? The stars in your eyes, they light up the sky. We're falling together like a meteorite. The tears that you cry.
Okay, so once again, the vocal sounds up front. It's not quite nose to nose like the 1176 was. However, it's there. It's at the front of the mix. It's not being smashed into oblivion because it's not that kind of song. We don't need to do that. However, it's really, really controlled and just keeps the vocal level all of the way. It keeps it on the top of the mix, right in front of the listener. Let's take a listen to it on its own, just the vocal.
If I call, would you pick up the phone if I fall? And would you catch me? The stars in your eyes, they light up the sky. We're falling together like a meteor.
Now let's have a listen without the compressor engaged, just so you can hear what it's really doing to the vocal.
If I call, would you pick up the phone if I fall? And would you catch me? The stars in your eyes, they light up the sky. We're falling together like a meteorite.
So as you can hear, the vocal level is kind of up and down. It's all over the place. It's lost a little bit of weight in the low mids. That's because of the saturation that's coming from the LA2A. Let's pop it back in.
The tears that you cry, the love that's inside. We're dreaming in color. Our hearts are alive like meteorites, like meteorites.
Now, just out of interest, I've put the 1176 back on this vocal. Let's just take a listen to what that sounds like.
If I call, Would you pick up the phone if I fall? And would you catch me? The stars in your eyes, they light up the sky. We're falling together like a meteorite.
Okay, now that doesn't sound bad by any stretch of the imagination, and if an 1176 was all you had to compress that vocal with, you could make it work. However, for me, the LA2A just sounds better off the bat. The mid-range from the 1176 doesn't suit the vocal brilliantly. I'd probably want to start taking some of that away with some dynamic EQ. It's also just a bit too grabby for me, so I'd probably need to take the attack way down. But even on the slowest attack, an 1176 is still very, very quick, so it would take some careful adjustment, but you could make it work. But the LA2A, I love that warmth that it has, particularly in the lows and the low mids. It keeps the vocal sounding really, really big rather than kind of channeling it down and making it sound more aggressive, which is what the 76 does. And I just feel like the LA2A works better in this situation. Now we're going to look at a slightly different third example. In this song, I'm going to show you a slightly different approach to what we've seen in the previous two examples. So we've learnt the 1176 is great for really aggressive in-your-face vocals, and the LA2A is great when you want something that is bigger, grander, a bit warmer, and less aggressive. Well, what happens if you've got a song like this one that's a slower tempo pop rock song where you want the vocal to be slightly aggressive? You want some of that kind of hard-hitting in-your-face stuff, but you also want it to be a bit rounded off and big as well. Well, in this example, we are chaining the two compressors together, and we are using both of them in series. So this vocal is going into the 1176 first. We are using that to get that aggressive sound that we heard in the first example. So we're compressing about 10 dB, really, really kind of pumping it. We're then going from the 76 into the 2A, just taking off about 3 to 5 dB. Now, what this does is we get all of the saturation and the aggressiveness from the 76, but then the LA2A just kind of rounds the edges off a little bit. It makes it a bit less rough and ready and just kind of smooths it out. We get that low end saturation that the LA2A gives, and it just rounds it off. So let's take a listen to what this vocal sounds like.
Like everyone that comes your way, you slam the door right in their face. Now I know it's nothing personal, you're just so unpredictable, but I guess that's what I signed up for. 'Cause when I look in your eyes, it comes as no surprise that I see right through everything that you do. You can say that you'll make it right, but don't expect me to fight, 'cause you know.
So as you can hear, that vocal sounds really, really great. The 1176 puts that kind of aggression in because it is a rock song at the end of the day, but it's not super fast, and we don't necessarily want all of that kind of pumping aggressiveness that the 76 typically gives us when we hit it hard. So by going into the LA2A just after it, it just rounds it off a little bit. Let's take a listen to that vocal on its own.
Now I know it's nothing personal, you're just so unpredictable, but I guess that's what I signed up for. 'Cause when I look in your eyes, it comes as no surprise that I see right through everything that you do. You can say that you'll make it right.
Now without any compressors in the chain, let's take them out.
Now I know it's nothing personal, you're just so unpredictable, but I guess that's what I signed up for. 'Cause when I look in your eyes, it comes as no surprise.
So the dynamics are all over the place here. You can see, just looking at the waveform, we've got quiet bits, we've got loud bits. That's just not going to work in the track. The vocal's going to disappear, and then it's going to jump out, and then it's going to disappear again. That's the whole reason we use compression. We're controlling the dynamics, and we put in the vocal at a place in the mix. So let's pop them back in.
That I see right through everything that you do. You can say that you'll make it right, but don't expect me to fight, 'cause you know.
So if you find yourself in a place where you want some of the characteristics from both of these compressors, you want the aggressiveness from the 76 and you want the big sound and warmth from the LA2A, then you can just link them together. Just put them in series, put one after another. Now, some people will argue which one should go first, and honestly, just try it for yourself and go with whatever you prefer the sound of. 99% of the time, I'm going into the 1176 first and then into the LA2A. That's the way I like it. Some people prefer to go into the LA2A first and the 1176 second. It really doesn't matter. Whatever sound you prefer, that's the one that is the right choice. Now, most musicians and artists that I speak to really struggle with monetizing the music, and this is something that has changed so much over the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years. The landscape for making money from music now is totally different to it was 10, 20 years ago. It's completely changed. However, it is absolutely possible. You just have to look around you, look on the internet, look at all of the artists that are still breaking through and doing really well, attracting huge audiences. It's possible. And what most people fail to understand is that there are many different avenues to monetize your music. And if this really is a goal for you, if this is something that you really want to pursue, maybe as a full-time career, then the best chance you can give yourself is to have multiple streams of income from your music. Now, to help with that, I created the music monetization checklist. This goes through all of the different avenues and opportunities that you can very easily set up to get an income from your music. If you just have one stream going, then it's likely going to be up and down. Whereas if you can have 3, 4, 5, then you're going to plug some of those holes and you're going to find things much more comfortable and much easier. This checklist gives you all of the ways that are working right now. Not 5 years ago, not 10 years ago, right now. These are the tried and tested methods that are working for artists right now and that can work for you too. It's completely free. The link is in the description below. Go check it out.